Hello, and welcome to Small Biz Catalyst. I am your host, Ayisat Abilogun. Join me as we explore ways that we as small business owners can pay ourselves a growing six-figure salary without pulling out our hair. Whether you're a small business owner or an economic development professional, this show is for you. Let's explore together. And if you listen to the end, I will share some grants that might be beneficial to your business. Do you worry about the impact of inflation on your business? Are you curious about what you could do or what else you could do to help your business weather inflation? The good news is, inflation is not a new thing, even when sometimes it spirals out of hand. There are a few things you can do as a business owner to weather the effects of inflation. In today's episode, we will go over 3 things that you could do to combat inflation and help your business stay resilient. Let's dive in. For those of you who don't know, I actually spent my early years in Nigeria, and I would hear my parents talk about inflation and big words like austerity and the value of the naira going down and its buying capacity just going down. And I would hear stories, my parents would tell stories about the days when 50 kobo was $1. So basically, the naira had twice the buying power of $1. And so the naira getting devalued up to the extent of 100 naira to $1 was just something my parents had never imagined. I mean, in the 70s, they went back home and took us with them because I think they went back in the 80s and took us with them because things were thriving in Nigeria. The economy was great. Expatriates were coming back home and redeveloping the nation. And as an adult, I got to come back to the US and enjoy my late teenage years. Just an economy that felt really good, that was very strong. And although we may not notice it, I'm sure the economy I came back to was completely different from years before then. Meaning what you could buy with $1 in the 80s was probably not what you could buy with $1 in the late 90s or even early 2000. And I just remember when I lived in New York with my cousin, we could get a gallon of gas for, I think it was about $1. And even then, that was so expensive because it was a whole dollar for a gallon. When we rode with her, she had to make sure she had enough money to buy gas and things like that. And the reason it felt expensive is because we knew that in the South, gas was much cheaper. So what we were buying for $1 in the South was probably more like 50 cents or maybe even 70 cents, which was much cheaper. And so when I moved to Dallas, I immediately experienced just how much cheaper things were. I would go to the store and call my friends and say, can you believe that bread is this much price and gas is this much price? And, just kind of brag about how cheap things were. Well, fast forward so many years, a few decades, gas now is about, you're lucky if it's $2 and change. Most of the time when I buy gas, it's $3, thereabout, maybe 10 cents, 19 cents, 20 cents over. Once in a while, you might find it 10 cents less. What I'm trying to say is inflation has gradually crept into our living. And even now more so, I know in the last year and even in the last couple of years, things have really just gone up. I remember buying a meal, and I still tell my kids this, that I used to buy a meal for $2.15. And now when you buy a meal at a fast food place, you're spending anywhere between $15 and $20. And that's just a huge difference. So as business owners, what can we do in response to inflation so that we can keep our businesses thriving? Today, we're going to talk about 3 things that we can do to really help our businesses grow. One of those things which you have already seen, and you may have noticed, I was having dinner with it was breakfast with a friend recently, and everything on the menu was about almost $20. And I just remember the days when $20 would buy a friend and I lunch. And not too long ago, maybe 6 years ago. But that's not the case now. And this is breakfast. Breakfast is supposed to be much lighter and, in my mind, cheaper, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So one of the ways that we as business owners can really keep our businesses strong is by adjusting prices strategically. Now, obviously, you have to account for cost because, yes, whether you're providing services or you're even providing a product, the cost of purchasing those products, you have to factor that into it. But then also the cost of, your besides your direct cost, your indirect cost. Now, if you're providing services, this might be a little tricky because the cost of your time is no longer what it used to be. You have to factor part of your living cost and maybe, your payroll cost and, you know, your direct cost might not be a product, might be a service. What are the things that you put into the service? Your laptop, for instance, printing, doing presentations, things like that. Payroll, if you're hiring other people to support your business. Those are all part of the cost that you need to factor in. So besides that, of course, you need to pay yourself, a salary. And so adjusting your cost but doing it in a strategic way. And this might mean introducing tiered pricing. Perhaps you don't want your customers to all run away. I'm sure most of them might even understand, hey, there's inflation that you have to account for, but you might decide to tier your services or your products so you can have varied pricing on different things. There's a thought that comes to my mind, and I don't want to use that example because that could be a little dicey. So maybe you might have a lower tier product, a mid-tier product, and a higher price product in order for you to have sales at different levels. You don't want to do too many because it gets out of hands, but you might start with 2 or maybe 3 and then measure and analyze what's selling, how your customers are responding to that. And then you can take it into account if that's going to stay or if you're going to pivot or change things.
Hey there, if you're just joining us, this is Small Biz Catalyst. We would like to invite you into our Tag a Business team. Here's what you need to do. Nominate a small business of your choice, tag them on our website at smallbizcatalyst.org. That's small, BIZCATALYST.org. Tell us your name, give us your email address because that's how we'll be able to tell you if you're a winner or not. And then give us a website to a business of your choice. It could be your business or somebody else's. Once you've tagged a business, you'll be entered for a $25 drawing to a local business of your choice. We'll announce winners every month. And now, back to the show.
The second thing you can do is negotiate with suppliers. Sometimes you might get to negotiate if you're able to buy in bulk. Other times, you might be able to collaborate with other people in your field. If you're a small business owner, there might be other businesses who are buying the same things that you're buying, or you can share service with or share space with. And so you might be able to negotiate a better rate because now you're buying in bulk, not just for yourself, but for a group. And I'm going to plug in one of our sponsors on this. Comerica has a co-op program where if you're in Texas, and I know Comerica is a regional bank, I don't remember what other states they're in, but definitely if you're in Texas, and you're a small business owner, you might want to check out Comerica co-op program. You can actually buy in bulk from places like Office Depot. Things that you would pay retail price for, you get to buy at a bulk rate because you're part of their co-op program. So definitely check it out. And if you don't know where to go, you can go to smallbizcatalyst.org/resources and you'll find a link to Comerica there. Another thing you can do to negotiate with suppliers is actually diversifying suppliers. Sometimes when you diversify suppliers, it ensures that you're not reliant on just one source and you're able to compare prices. I was talking to a friend recently and she said, hey, and I asked, I said, I knew she used to buy gold. And I said, do you only buy online? Because online is all I'd learned. And she said, no, I actually call my I research gold coin sellers around me that are local. And I didn't know that you could do that. And she said she would call, she'll take a few minutes to call some of them after reviewing their ratings and stuff and to see who has a better price. And she was saying sometimes she's got better price locally than online. So that was new knowledge for me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I definitely should try that rather than relying on just buying online because they're great, reputable companies online. Some of them. Always do your homework. Now, the third thing you can do to strategically combat inflation in your business is to increase operational efficiency. Streamlining processes to reduce and improve productivity will save you money. You might want to assess what are you doing, evaluate what tasks could be automated. Could you optimize your inventory management? Is there a way you could focus on reducing overhead costs? Where in your business could you gain efficiency? And by strategically looking for ways to be more efficient, you can actually offset some of the rising expenses and keep your business agile. And I really don't hate to do this. I actually love to do this. I want to plug in some of the ways to create efficiencies might be outsourcing some of the administrative tasks. And some of you might have heard from a previous episode that we actually have a virtual assistant agency. If you go to FLCA, that's Financial District Club of America, SBA.com, S as in Sam, B as in boy, A as in apple.com/VA, you can actually get a full-time teammate for a few $100s a month. You can also hire a fractional virtual assistant for probably the cost of 4 outing with maybe 5 clients. I hope these tips have been super helpful for you if you're supporting an entrepreneur or if you are an entrepreneur yourself or a small business owner. I hope these tips have been super efficient for you. They are simple tips that when applied could save you lots of money and help you keep your business resilient. Thank you for joining me today. Please don't forget to like, rate, and review the show. I'd love to hear your comments. And if you'd like to text me, there's actually an opportunity for you to text me in whatever listening app you're using. There's a link for you to directly send a text to me. I will definitely respond to all of your comments, and I love to read them. And now for the grants. Today's grant announcement is from Ryan Foundation. The grant is a $500,000 grant, and it's applicable to any 501c3 nonprofit organization. Their grants are particularly tailored for professional conferences and symposia, and as well as out-of-state endeavors. Maybe you know somebody who is having a huge event or a conference. This is a great grant for them to apply to. For more information about this grant, you can go to ryanfoundation.com/guidelines-4-grants. You could also send a letter of inquiry to vfreeman@ryanfoundation.com. Until next time.